Match like this takes a lot out of you mentally and physically, so what are you going to focus on when it comes to recovery for the next match?
Sleep. I think it's everyone's bedtime. People probably...
Well, that was a fine point, and eventually Baptiste outplayed at the back of the court. She defended. A perfect finish, really well constructed point again.
Shocking, the secret backstage drama that made Hailey Baptiste CRY after Eala loss, and what happened next will leave you speechless. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, your #1 destination for the most explosive, most emotional, and most unforgettable stories happening right now on the WTA Tour. Today, we are bringing you a story so layered, so raw, and so unbelievably human that by the time we're done, you will feel every single emotion on the spectrum. We are talking tears, triumph, heartbreak, history, and a secret locker room moment so powerful it has been making waves through the entire professional tennis circuit. So do yourself a favor, put the phone down, grab something to drink, sit back, and let us take you deep behind the curtain of the 2026 WTA Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. Because what unfolded at the Aviation Club Tennis Centre goes so far beyond what any camera captured on court. This is Court Vision Plus, and this is the story the world needs to hear. Let's set the scene. Dubai in February is a fever dream of heat, ambition, and elite athletic warfare. The WTA 1000 event at the Aviation Club Tennis Centre is one of the most prestigious early season stops on the calendar, and every single player who steps through those gates knows the stakes. WTA 1000 points are the lifeblood of a professional tennis career. They determine seedings, they open or close doors to the biggest tournaments, and they define legacies. The courts are fast, the conditions are relentless, and the competition is absolutely cutthroat. Now imagine stepping into that crucible carrying the weight of an entire nation on your back, as well as the accumulated pressure of a season that has already delivered near misses and heartbreaks. That is precisely the situation 20-year-old Eala walked into when she arrived in Dubai in the spring of 2026. And that is the story we are here to unpack today. To truly appreciate everything that happened, you have to understand who these two players are and what they were each fighting for. On one side of the net was Hailey Baptiste, world number 39, American powerhouse. A force of nature on the baseline with a first serve that sounds like a cannon being fired and ground strokes heavy enough to move mountains. Baptiste has been one of the most exciting and physically imposing players in the game for several seasons now. She's not just a big hitter, she's a competitor, a fighter, a player who refuses to give away a single point without a battle. She came into Dubai fresh from a demanding stretch of tournaments, carrying both the physical toll of a grueling season and the burning desire to climb further up that world ranking. She was not in Dubai to go home in the first round. She was in Dubai to make noise. And on the other side of the net? Eala, the 20-year-old Filipino phenomenon who, in the span of a few months in 2026, went from exciting prospect to full-blown WTA sensation. Eala is left-handed, which already gives her a natural tactical advantage, but it's not just the lefty forehand that makes her dangerous. It's her court coverage, her tennis IQ, her ability to construct a point and then execute the kill shot with the ice-cold precision of a seasoned veteran. She carries herself with a quiet confidence that belies her age. And she had arrived in Dubai carrying a massive chip on her shoulder after a series of agonizingly close results earlier in the season, a quarterfinal exit in Abu Dhabi against Ekaterina Alexandrova, a tough loss in Qatar. She had tasted the doorstep of glory multiple times without being able to kick it open. Dubai was going to be different. She could feel it. Now let's talk about the match itself, because even before the backstage drama that we are going to get to shortly, what happened on that court was an absolute masterclass in elite competitive tennis. The atmosphere inside the Aviation Club was extraordinary from the first point. A massive, incredibly vocal contingent of Filipino expats had packed into the stadium, transforming it into something that felt more like a Grand Slam quarterfinal than a first-round WTA 1000 match. The noise, the flags, the passion, it was electric in a way that gave you chills even watching through a screen. The match began as a tactical chess match of the highest order. Baptiste was aggressive from the jump, leaning hard on her powerful first serve and trying to dictate the terms of every rally. The baseline, serving herself out of trouble again and again. You could see the grimaces between points. You could see her clutching her side, trying to disguise the discomfort that was clearly building beneath the surface. Despite all of that warrior spirit, despite every ounce of fight she could summon, Baptiste eventually dropped that first game of the second set to go down 0-1. And then she called for the trainer. The stadium went quiet. The kind of silence that falls when everyone in the building simultaneously realizes something serious is happening. The trainer worked on her side for several minutes. Baptiste attempted to continue. She tried to warm her body back up. She tried to push through, but it was no use. An abdominal injury had flared to the point where serving was physically impossible. The core muscles needed for every explosive movement in tennis were simply refusing to cooperate. After several agonizing minutes of assessment, the decision was made. Hailey Baptiste retired from the match. The score would go into the books as Eala leading 6-4, 1-0. Just like that, one of the most anticipated first-round matches of the tournament was over. During her on-court interview, Eala took the microphone and said exactly the right words. She didn't celebrate. She didn't gloat. She spoke from the heart about how difficult it is to maintain physical health at this level of professional tennis, and she expressed genuine hope that Hailey would make a speedy recovery. The broadcasters signed off. The cameras packed up. The stadium began to empty. And everyone watching at home assumed the story was over. But here at Court Vision Plus, we know that the most important stories in professional tennis almost never happen on the court. They happen in the corridors and the locker rooms and the quiet moments between the public performances. And what happened next, in the private sanctuary of the players' locker room at the Aviation Club, is the moment this entire story pivots on. Hailey Baptiste was alone. Sitting in that locker room, the physical pain of her abdominal injury was one thing, but the mental and emotional weight pressing down on her was something else entirely. An abdominal injury is one of the cruelest injuries a tennis player can sustain. It doesn't just hurt. It makes every single movement painful. It makes serving, the most fundamental weapon in any professional player's arsenal, an agonizing impossibility. And beyond the physical dimension, there is the psychological devastation of having your season derailed by your own body at the worst possible moment. The uncertainty. The questions. How long will the recovery take? What tournaments will I miss? How many ranking points will I lose? Will I come back the same player? These are the thoughts that swirl in the dark of a locker room when the cameras are gone and there is no one to perform composure for. Baptiste was desperately trying to hold herself together. Players are conditioned to project toughness. The world expects them to be stoic, to be professionals, to handle adversity with grace. And she was trying. She was holding her breath, keeping the walls up, maintaining that exterior of strength. And that is precisely when the locker room door opened and Eala walked in. Now, you have to understand the unwritten rules of the WTA locker room. When you have just beaten someone, even if the win came via retirement rather than a hard-fought final point, the standard protocol is to give them space. You keep your head down. You stay out of their way. You let them process in private. It is not coldness, it is professionalism. It is respect for the other player's grief. Almost any player on tour would have done exactly that. They would have walked past, offered a sympathetic look at most, and moved on to preparing for the next round. Eala did not do that. She put her tennis bags down. She sat right next to Hailey Baptiste. And then she handed her something, a handwritten note. Not a typed message, not a social media DM, not a generic press room platitude. A handwritten note. In an era of instant digital communication where everything is a text or a post or a story, she had taken the time to write something by hand. That single gesture alone would have been extraordinary. But Eala went further. According to insiders close to both players' camps, she offered Baptiste the personal services of her own physiotherapist, one of the most highly regarded physical therapists on the tour, to come and assess the injury before Hailey had to make her flight home. She wanted to make sure that the American was getting the best possible medical attention in the immediate aftermath of the injury, before she was separated from the resources of a major tournament and left to navigate recovery alone. And then Eala spoke. And this is where the dam broke. Because what she said was not generic. It was not rehearsed. It was deeply, vulnerably personal. Eala shared her own story, her own recent struggles with the physical and psychological burnout of the global tennis circuit. The loneliness of it. The way the body gives out at the worst possible moments. The way the mental weight accumulates in the quiet spaces between matches. She wasn't talking to a rival. She wasn't performing compassion for an audience. She was talking to another young woman who was suffering, and she was saying, I see you. I know this feeling. You are not alone in this. Hailey Baptiste, who had been holding her breath for the better part of an hour to keep from falling apart, completely broke down in tears. The walls came down. The composure dissolved. She later confided to people close to her, she did something that made me unable to hold back. You expect your opponent to be happy they got a free pass. But Alex saw me. She really, truly saw me. Stop and sit with that for a moment. In a sport that is fundamentally built on individual competition, where every other player is ultimately your adversary, where the system is designed to pit you against each other, a 20-year-old young woman sat down next to her opponent and chose humanity over protocol. She chose connection over competition. And that choice broke through every wall Hailey Baptiste had built around herself. This is why we love this sport. Not for the trophies. Not for the rankings. Not even for the breathtaking shot-making, though God knows we love that too. We love it for these moments. These profoundly human moments that happen in the spaces the cameras never reach, that remind us that beneath the power and the precision and the competitive fire, these are people. Real, complicated, vulnerable, beautiful people. Now, and this is where the story shifts from heartbreaking to absolutely electric, what Eala did next with that emotional energy was nothing short of astonishing. Because she took everything she felt in that locker room, the empathy, the shared pain, the understanding of what it costs to be out here grinding on the global tour, and she transformed it into fuel. Pure, high-octane, world-beating fuel. Her second-round opponent was world number 8 and 6th seed Jasmine Paolini of Italy. Let's be very clear about what that means. Paolini is not just a top 10 player. She is one of the most consistent and mentally resilient players on the entire WTA tour. She is a baseline maestro, a relentless grinder who has made a career out of outlasting her opponents, wearing them down point by point, game by game, set by set, until they make the error that ends it all. She had been to Grand Slam finals. She had been tested by the biggest players in the world. Nobody gave Eala a serious chance. Eala did not receive the memo. She walked onto that court and played the match of her young career. She was aggressive, she was precise, she was mentally unshakable, and she was absolutely on fire. The Filipino fans in the stands were louder than ever. And when it was all over, Eala had done the unthinkable. She defeated Paulini in a stunning upset that sent shockwaves all the way across the globe back to Manila. The texts and social media posts exploded. The Filipino sports world lost its collective mind. And Eala? She celebrated with the quiet, focused smile of a player who knew she was just getting started. Third round. Sorana Cernuschi of Romania. World number 32. A battle-hardened veteran with 15 years of professional experience and a game built on power, angles, and the kind of mental toughness that only comes from fighting through hundreds of high-pressure matches over a decade-plus career. Oh, and Cernuschi had a 15-year age advantage over Eala. 15 years. Instead, Eala produced one of the gutsiest performances of the entire tournament. She found herself trailing in the opening set, staring at a 4-5 deficit with the crowd barely daring to breathe. And then she reached into some deep reservoir of competitive spirit and found something extraordinary. She fought back. She broke Cernuschi's serve. She held her own. She clawed and battled and refused to let the set slip away. She won it 7-5. And then, feeding off that momentum, she dominated the second set 6-4. 98 minutes of heart-stopping, nail-biting, edge-of-your-seat tennis, and Eala was through to the quarterfinals. Let us now take a moment to fully absorb the magnitude of what we are talking about. By defeating Cernuschi, Eala became the first ever Filipina quarterfinalist in the history of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. The first ever. In a tournament that has been running for decades and has hosted virtually every great player in the history of women's tennis. She is shattering records and breaking barriers in real time, and doing it all with a style and a grace that is winning fans all over the world, not just in the Philippines. Her live ranking at this point in the tournament had rocketed to a career high inside the top 38, with over 1,300 ranking points. She had joined an extraordinarily exclusive club. Only Naomi Osaka and Olympic champion Zhang Qinwen had achieved the feat of reaching multiple WTA 1000 quarterfinals before turning 21. Those are not just good players. Those are all-time generational talents. And Eala's name is now sitting right alongside theirs in the record books. The tennis world is not just noticing. It is paying very close, very serious attention. Speaking to the press after her win over Cernuschi, Eala said with characteristic understatement and warmth, "It's super special. Every round is such a battle and so filled with tension, so I'm really happy with how I performed." Super special. The understatement of the year, perhaps. But that humility, that groundedness, is a huge part of what makes her so compelling. She's not performing confidence. She has it. Real, earned, deep confidence built on hours and hours and hours of work that nobody ever sees. And now, the quarterfinal. The moment the entire tennis world has been waiting for. The moment that, if we are being completely honest, feels like it was written by someone with an extraordinary sense of drama. Alexandra Eala versus world number 4 Coco Gauff. Two of the most exciting young players on the planet. Two players who, fascinatingly enough, know each other well. They were former doubles partners, they call each other friends, they have spent time together on the practice court and in the tournament lounges. And now they are going to stand across the net from each other in a WTA 1000 quarterfinal in Dubai, with history on the line and the entire world watching. Let's talk about what Coco Gauff brings to this match. She is, first and foremost, a Grand Slam champion. She has been to the biggest stages in the sport and won. She has the serve, the forehand, the movement, and most crucially, the mental game of a true champion. She is not going to be rattled by the occasion. She is not going to be rattled by the crowd. She is not going to be rattled by Eala's recent hot streak. She will come out focused, aggressive, and ready to impose her game from the very first point. And she did not have an easy path to the quarterfinal herself. She had to save 3 match points to come through against Elise Mertens in a match that tested every dimension of her competitive character. She is sharp, she is motivated, and she is dangerous. But here is the thing about Eala right now. She is playing with a freedom and a fearlessness that is genuinely difficult to contend with. She has nothing to lose and everything to gain. The record books are already being rewritten with her name. Every round she wins is history. Every point she plays on that court is another step in what is rapidly becoming one of the most extraordinary breakthrough stories in recent WTA memory. And the crowd, that incredible, passionate, outrageously vocal crowd of Filipino supporters, will be right there with her for every single point. The tactical matchup is absolutely fascinating. Gauff will try to use her powerful serve and big forehand to push Eala back behind the baseline and take time away from her. Eala, with her left-handed forehand and elite court coverage, will look to redirect pace, change directions, and use her footwork to create openings on both sides of the court. The key battles will be in the at-court deuce exchanges, where Eala's left-handed cross-court forehand can create serious problems for right-handed opponents. And mentally, this is where it gets truly compelling. Eala has momentum, history, and a crowd. Gauff has experience, titles, and ranking. Something has to give. While we wait for that epic quarterfinal, the story of Hailey Baptiste also deserves a proper conclusion, or at least, the beginning of one. Sources close to the American player have indicated that the injury, while serious enough to prevent her from competing in Dubai, is not expected to be a long-term issue. The medical team's early assessments suggest that with the right treatment and rest protocol, she should be back on court in the coming weeks. The tennis world will be breathing a collective sigh of relief at that news, because the tour is simply more exciting, more electric, and more dramatic when Hailey Baptiste is out there competing with everything she has. And when she does return, she will carry with her the memory of that locker room in Dubai. Not the injury. Not the loss. Not the retirement. She will carry the memory of a young woman who sat down next to her and chose to be human. And you can be absolutely certain that Eala will carry that moment too, that understanding of shared struggle, of mutual vulnerability, of the cost that this extraordinary life extracts from everyone who chooses to live it. The 2026 WTA Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships has already given us more drama, more emotion, more history, and more pure human storytelling than most tournaments manage in their entire lifetime. We have had an epic first-round battle cut short by injury. We have had a secret locker room moment of extraordinary compassion that reduced a top 50 player to tears. We have had a 20-year-old Filipino phenom defeating a top 10 player and a seasoned veteran back-to-back to make the quarterfinals for the first time in her nation's history. And now we are on the eve of a quarterfinal between two of the brightest young stars in the sport, former friends, current rivals, both fully capable of delivering something truly special. This is the WTA Tour in 2026. This is what makes women's professional tennis the most compelling, most emotionally rich, most dramatically satisfying sport on the planet. It is not just about the tennis, though the tennis is extraordinary. It is about the people. The stories behind the scores. The friendships and the rivalries and the sacrifices and the moments of humanity that bloom even in the most competitive environment imaginable. It is about a young Filipino girl from Manila standing on a court in Dubai and rewriting history in real time while an entire nation holds its breath and cheers and cries and cheers again. Eala, the tennis world is watching. Now here's where you come in, because this is not a one-way conversation, this is a community, and we want to hear everything you have to say. What do you think about that locker room moment between Eala and Hailey Baptiste? Does that story change how you see Eala as a person and as a competitor? And what about that quarterfinal? Do you think she has what it takes to pull off the most stunning upset of her career so far and take down world number 4 Coco Gauff on the biggest stage she has ever stood on? Drop your predictions, your thoughts, your score forecasts, and your messages of love and support for both of these incredible athletes in the comments section below right now. We read every single comment. We see every single one of you. This community is everything. If this deep dive into the hidden drama and the human beauty of professional tennis moved you, entertained you, or left you wanting more, smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people and keep bringing you stories like this one. And if you are not yet subscribed to Court Vision Plus, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you are the first to know every time we drop new content. We are not just covering the scores. We are covering the stories. The real stories. The ones that happen when the cameras stop rolling and the real human beings show up. This is Court Vision Plus. And we will see you at the next match point.
Kamusta mga kapang Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open mula ng January 3. Super happy with the game, how I played. I think she was a tough opponent and yeah, tough conditions out there, very hot, but I'm just very happy with the win and